morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. My name is SoulSaint. We got a banger of a video coming at you guys today. It is a new fusion that's coming up for the 5th year anniversary. I believe we're kind of entering into for the month of March. And we have Armanz the Magnificent. We did a live reaction of the teaser for this guy. If you haven't checked out, check out the Raid's official Twitter, their official Facebook. They have actually made a post about how you can kind of see this guy a little bit. They kind of showed a little bit of his like image, like what you see right now on the screen, on the screen. Excuse me. But they also are going to have a little bit more information that we were able to dump with you guys today. I've heard a lot about this guy. A lot of people say he's hype. He's kind of crazy. Some people say he's kind of mid, and I'm not exactly sure what to expect. I do believe that they have a little bit of a explorative measure that they kind of give us a little bit of like a summary of what it is. I'm going to read this to you guys real quick, and then we'll do a breakdown of his kit. We'll do a little bit of a turnaround of him so you can kind of see the full kit or his full design, which he looks really, really dope already from like the image. We'll actually show you the turnaround, and you can kind of take your own, you can give your own perspective based on what you see. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, the graphical department never misses. They never do. I'm just being honest. All right, with that being said, they got Armanz the Magnificent, Fortune Teller, Bard, Vagabond. A man with extraordinary personality who will become a valuable asset in your roster. As you guys can obviously see, he's a barbarian. The arena is definitely Armanz's place to shine, as his skill set is designed to fully control the enemy's team. Oh, and believe me, he has some pretty nice tricks down his sleeve. Stealing turn meter, increasing skill cooldown, stripping buffs, all the while boosting his own turn meter. Armanz is a real menace. That's what they said. That's what they said here. Now, let's see if this holds true. So he's a legendary support champion for the Magic Affinity. His first ability is called, was it Wired or Weird? I'm going to say Wired Beard, or Wired Blade. I think it's going to be Wired Blade. Attacks when an enemy has a 35% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random active skill by 2 turns. Seems to see we're getting like miniature lockout abilities with A1s. Like, I think King Narcisse also has something similar to that. And on the flip side, his partner had the cooldown reducer on the A1. It's kind of interesting that they're doing that a lot more on a single repeatable ability. That's very interesting. Has a 35% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random active skill by 2 turns. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each turn added to the cooldown. So, if it does proc and it reduces it by 2 turns, that means you get 20% turn meter. That's nuts. It has a additional 20% chance to proc. So 35 plus that 20% is about 55%. And then, of course, the other books are pretty much an additional 20%. An additional 20% damage. That's not bad for ability. Basically, it's a little bit higher than your 50-50 flip coin, but it's kind of close to a flip coin, for lack of better words. Very similar if you've had any chance playing with the new fusion that we just finished not too long ago. White Queen and Core is pretty much a 50-50. It's kind of similar on that same level of like chance ability, okay? With that being said, greatest hits, we like to hear it, is a 4-turn cooldown, which can be bookable down to a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, steals all turn meter of each target except enemies under sheep debuffs. Also places a stun debuff for 1 turn on all enemies that are not sheep. So it's a steal turn meter of all enemies if they're not sheeped, and then it also stuns them if they're not sheeped. You know what that sounds very reminiscent of? If you guys remember in Epic, she's also in the Barbarian tribe. Let me know in the comments below someone that steals turn meter and stuns if they are able to fully reduce them. Y'all let me know who that is. I know her name. Starts with a name. For my next trick, 5-star, it's a 5-turn cooldown, bookable down to a 4-turn cooldown. Places a sheep debuff on an enemy for 1 turn. Long gone are the days that Sun Wukong was the only person with sheep in his kit. I think there might have been one other person. Then has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, so he's a buff stripper on top of that. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% for each buff removed. When booked, it's not only a 4-turn cooldown, but it's a 100% chance to do that. So then at that point, because it doesn't say it's irresistible, that means you do have the accuracy versus resistance battle, as is true with the rest of his kit so far. So he's going to be pretty accuracy dependent. Very reminiscent of champions like Yumiko, maybe. You want to maybe get her fast. Or utility Wukong, you want to get him fast. You want to get him as accurate as possible so you can get a good value out of this guy's kit. Very, very high utility. I think he's already screaming utility for me. We don't know about damage multipliers, so keep that in mind. He does have 2 abilities that do that. So that do some damage, and depending on how the scaling of that's going to look, we may end up seeing him pack a punch, or he may be just straight up a utility champion. But so far, I'm reading utility across the board, so we'll see what else. He's got Masters of Ceremony. It's a passive. Whenever a sheep debuff is removed or expires on an enemy, increases the cooldown of a random active skill on that enemy to its max. What? Whenever a sheep debuff is removed or expires on an enemy, increases the cooldown of a random active skill on that enemy to its max. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each turn added to the cooldown. What? So most abilities, their average cooldown is roughly about like three turns. The more expansive ones are 4 turns, and at worst 5 turns. So if you do hit somebody that puts a it's random, mind you, but a cooldown that could be anywhere between 3 to 5, that's 30 to 50% turn meter increase. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. So if you have dupe Armanz, you're only one of them's going to get it. And then, of course, his ally aura is going to increase ally speed in arena by 28%, which is not too bad. Dude, you know what? Speaking of 28%, that's actually like very similar to Sun Wukong's ally aura, right? Or his speed aura for arena. But I was also thinking, man, you can go full carnival mode with having like sheep from Sun Wukong and sheep from Armanz, and then you're like perma-controlling the enemy. That is nasty. And then you're benefiting from it. That is nasty. Oh my goodness. Polarium. What is this? Alright, sheeping somebody is already punishing enough. Turn meter reduction and strip is already enough into some capacity. There's champions that are literally, they shine because of what they bring to the table in that capacity. But then you kind of together, and it's like you have, this guy's going to be busted. This guy's going to be busted for arena, bro. And if it's not already apparent about how annoying sheep is, I'm going to tell you guys this now. You can look at my boy, my homie, Big Drop. Big Papa Drock, he's gonna give you all the collab video we did, and if you ask me on like live streams and all that, we already said I don't personally view like sheep or polymorph at the very least to be a very, very beneficial, healthy blessing for the environment, and I didn't even think about that either. It could come for poly as well, so like high polymorph type teams, which is kind of relevant in today's meta, in addition to his passive, because it doesn't matter where the source of the sheep comes from. As long as a person's sheep is existing and then it gets removed, it does that. So, Polymorph plus Armanz is OP. Or Sun Wukong with Armanz is OP. Armanz with Armanz is OP. Armanz with Poly is OP. Ay, Dios mío. This is going to be nuts. This is going to be nuts for a character. That's all I'm going to say. Let me show you guys. Let's put the script away from his kit and just talk about how this character's design looks. This guy is fantastic. I'm going to disappear for a second so you can kind of see him. This dude is ridiculous in terms of his design. I mean, you see the tattoos. I noted that they had like the cards. He has like 2 cards on both of his arms in terms of like his sleeves. I see some potential like intertwined spider. That's reminiscent of something real. He has shadow on his chesticles, or at least his abdomen if you see it. And then I see some stars and some moon, and then if you look on his banjo, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, he is a bard, so or maybe it's a ukulele or something. I don't know exactly what you want to call it. I see the knight little like, what do you call it, carving on the top inside of the instrument. He's got the scimitar, it looks like, with a I don't know what kind of blade they called that. And then you see the card on the inside of the instrument itself. Dude, this guy's design is ridiculous. Look, Captain Jack Sparrow done landed in raid, bro. We're ready. We're here for it, bro. We're here for it, dude. I'm excited to see this guy in action. I think that the incorporation with mechanics from other areas of the game is going to be ridiculous with this champion. I think that this guy is going to be a monster if played into the right utility. I definitely think that, like, it would be very surprising for me to see that this guy actually packs a punch, too, from a multiplier standpoint, because of how bloated his control is for a champion. And I think that's going to be kind of something that's going to be really interesting to see. If he does a lot of damage in addition to this champion's going to be top tier. If he doesn't, I still think he's going to be very relevant, very similar to your Sun Wukong environments, you know? And if you already are annoyed with someone like Sun Wukong, expect Armanz to be somewhere on the same plane of annoying, like a nuisance in this grand scheme of things. Now, with that being said, is there a way to, like, counterbalance this guy? So, none of his kit says irresistible, right? And I think that that's one thing to keep in mind, which means that block debuff is still relevant to this day when it comes to stuns, which can negate greatest hits. Also, for my next trick, it doesn't say that it cannot be blocked or it cannot be resisted, which means that there's a possibility you can do that in tandem with going against them. Maybe your Duchesses, your Siffy still reign supreme in that regard, and you can see some value from that. based off of the way that this kid's design is written, and that's the devil's in the details on that one. So I would definitely pay attention to that. But if you are able to get sheeped, which is where maybe Sun Wukong plus Armanz can be very valuable, that's where you're going to see some problems with his passive kicking in. This dude's going to be a monster, man. I am not looking forward to what this guy can bring to the table. And then he's great in the lead role with being able to provide that aura. This guy's going to be a menace. But enough of what I think. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited for this champion? Do you guys want to see him in action? Are you looking forward to running through another fusion for him? I believe this one might be a little bit of a combination. And I'm just going to read this to you all before I let you guys go. You'll need to fuse a legendary champion from epics while you need to summon the epics from fragments. You know what that means, right? And I'm going to say that, in my experience, the most hardest version of a fusion was a hybrid version, right? So fragments for the base form of getting the epics, and then the epics being raised up. That was the only time I've ever experienced that, and the only time I've ever heard before that would be like the Brogni event, as well as MX fusion, which was a hybrid fusion. They are very difficult, so expect a taxing environment for something around the lines of this fusion. So just be prepared, be careful, make sure you plan accordingly, start saving up now. That's probably the word to the wise. And start, farming up in areas that you may see some deficiencies in, so that you have enough when the fusion goes, and you have enough of a clear sailing when you get into it. So, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know. Are you guys excited for the magnificent Bard that's going to be touchdowning here soon? His fusion is going to be active starting, I believe, on March 7th. So look forward to that. And with that being said, like I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and always remember, stay ascended.
So